is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You can hear in the background, it sounds like gunshots, but it's a nail gun. Kevin's getting a new fence put in. A few new things to the channel today, actually. So I really wanted to pick up an enclosed trailer, but I couldn't justify spending that much money just yet. So maybe that's in the cards for next year. So I did pick up a used, pretty good condition, 18-foot open trailer from our buddy Brady. Shout out to Brady. So I'll show you guys kind of around what it looks like. So just your standard open car trailer. It's nice because he added some LEDs on the outside because the tint on the truck is super dark, and it's already got LEDs in the floorboard, which is nice for loading at night. It does have a winch, which is always a good thing to have, you know, when your car breaks down at the track, which mine has done before. So I'm really excited because it does have a winch. It's got a nice bug shield on the front, which he actually trimmed up top because it was a little too tall and he couldn't see the car when he was towing. So he trimmed that. It's got an optimum battery in there, brand new optimum battery for the winch. And then just kind of got your standard stuff. It does have some upgraded wheels. So it's got some nice American racing wheels. Probably should get some wheels that match the truck, but that would be a little overboard. But it's super nice, 18-foot open car trailer. Just had the bearings done and everything's pretty much been refreshed on it. I thought about actually like Linexing it, just because this, you know, the metal's nice because it lasts longer than wood trailers, but it does get slippery if it's ever wet. But yeah, it's my new trailer. I know it's used and it's an open trailer, but I'm actually pretty excited about it to finally have my own trailer that I paid cash for. So if you guys don't know, I've been borrowing our buddy Leroy's trailer for a long time. I've borrowed some other buddies' trailers and finally got my own. It's nothing special, but it works and it'll tow the tank stang. So like I said, excuse the noise. Kevin's getting a whole new fence out there, but got the tank stang. I did switch to some strange brakes. If you guys didn't know, I kind of showed it in a previous video, but finally got those done. Got some new lug nuts from the tie shop. These are super nice, high quality lug nuts from the tie shop. So if you guys need anything titanium, check out the tie shop. And I did lower the car. You probably can't tell, but I did lower the front about a ½ inch with the Viking coilovers. So if you guys don't remember, in previous videos I talked about lowering the front to get a little more rake in the car. We did pull all the weight out of the car that we had in it for Amarillo for the flashlight shootout, and I ended up keeping both spacers in the back. It didn't raise it too much, but I did switch BMR springs at one point to get a stiffer spring in the back, but I think it actually lowered the car more. So now with the two spacers, it seems like the ride height is a little bit better. So I might need to play with it a little more, but we'll kind of have to see once we get to a different track. But pretty much lowered the front, kept the back end raised up, pulled all the weight off from the Amarillo dragway, and then I got some other really exciting stuff in for the tank stang. So first thing, once again, luckily I have really good friends. They've let me use their generators when we go to the track, or what I've been doing is using my truck, because if you guys don't know, I put a fan on the transmission in between rounds, and then I gotta charge the battery sometimes while I'm like changing tunes and stuff. So it's really nice to have a generator around. Usually I'll use Joe's or Harper's, or I use my truck because obviously it's got 120 volt outlet in it, but then you got to run your truck all the time. So I've been needing to get a generator, just haven't really pulled the trigger, and I got this one on Amazon. I think it was about like 420 bucks. This one had the best rating for this price range. You know, they have like Honda ones, but they're like $1,100. But these inverter generators, these like mobile ones, are obviously a little more expensive, but that's because they're quieter than like your normal generator. I hate when people bring regular generators to the track and they're super crazy loud. So this thing will run for about 5 hours at a half load. It's got like 2,300 peak watts, and it can hold like a little bit over a gallon of gas, but this one got really good reviews on it. So I'll keep you guys updated if you're interested in getting one of these. I'll kind of let you know how it works out, but it does have USB ports. It's got 120 volt outlets. It's got 12 volt DC. And then actually, if you need more power, like if you have an enclosed trailer, so for me in the future, I can actually get another one of these and run them simultaneously, like put them together. And you can actually run both, and then you can run your trailer also because you have double the power. So finally, pretty excited. Got a trailer and I got a generator. And the thing I've really been excited about is in this box. All right, so I kind of cheated and already opened it just because I was so excited to see this, but huge thanks again to my tuner, John Lund Jr., Lund Racing, the best tuner in the game. He found out, so if you guys don't know, a little backstory, I took him out already, but I used to run my gauges right here, the stock gauges, because I had no gauge cluster. I have this carbon fiber dash, but I had no gauge cluster to look at the RPMs, see how fast I was going, and I didn't want to cut this dash out. I had to cut a hole to run the plug through, which we'll get that fixed, but I didn't want to cut a big hole in the dash just to run a stock dash cluster, because I knew at some point I'd either go to an aftermarket ECU or I'd switch to a better dash, or I'd actually eventually cut this one. So I really wasn't sure what I was doing. So John Lund Jr. found out that you can run the AEM digital dash that they use for their aftermarket ECU if you run like an AEM engine management system instead of the stock ECU. Well, their digital dash, you can actually get to work with the stock ECU. I've got tape on this end gauge because I remounted it and put some adhesive behind there, so I was letting that dry. But got my end gauge right there. So the biggest thing John Lund Jr. was worried about was that this AEM digital dash runs off of the OBD2 port if you want it to work with your stock ECU. So there's a way to get it to work with the stock ECU, and that's why I have this plug for. But their biggest concern was to make sure that this could run off of the OBD2 port while the end gauge was still data logging, because you don't want them to interrupt each other and then you can't data log, because then it's pointless. You really need to data log all your runs, or anytime you're making passes or getting into boost, make sure everything's running good. So obviously I data log every pass, I review it with John Lund Jr., and so his biggest thing was to make sure that works with this, and they were able to get it working on their blue car. And he told me about it, and I was like, well, I'm interested in kind of running it on my car, which is an 18. So he hooked it up to the black car that they have, the black 18 they have, and it worked. So I went and picked up the AEM CD7 digital dash, and I'm really excited about this. These are, they're a little bit expensive, but it's got everything I need, and it's gonna look super clean once I can get it mounted on the carbon dash, instead of, if you guys had seen previously, I literally had the stock gauge cluster just sitting on the dash, and it looked terrible, but I needed it. So got this plug off of jigs, so that way you can run off your OBD2 port, and then you'll hook the end gauge on that side, and then this plug will go to the AEM digital dash. So I'm going to plug it in here, make sure everything works, and then I will work on actually mounting it. So let's check this out. Alright guys, so it's a pretty simple install. You run it to the OBD2 port, got that little plug that we got from jigs so we can hook up the end gauge, and then there's another wire that comes off of it, and you just need to run a power source that's fused and then a ground wire. So this is the moment of truth. I've got it just kind of hanging out up here just to make sure it works, and then we'll actually figure out how we're going to mount it to the dash. Let's go ahead and pull the power. So we've got power, and I've got it to a key on switch. So the key on. And look at that, it's turning on. So we taped up my shift light because we had some issues with it, but we got it fixed. But look at that, let's get the car running, see if we can see what it looks like. As one important piece, the reason why it's not actually working. We've got power, but it's not actually showing data, is because John Lund Jr., he had to make a configuration for it to work with the N-Gage. So I'm downloading the AEM software, and then we're going to download that configuration onto the actual AEM CD7 display, and then hopefully it should work. Alright guys, so it's actually the next day. I'm going to share my desktop with Lund Jr. because we are trying to figure out why this actually isn't working. So let's see if we can figure this out. Alright guys, day 3 working on this, and the only reason why, I could have had this figured out in probably an hour with John, but I had to go to work and come back and work on the car when I could. But anyways, so there's essentially a harness that taps into your OBD2 to run the AEM CD7 off of, and then it also gives you a port for your OBD2, that way you can run the N-Gage at the same time. Well, I don't know if I got a bad harness or what the deal is, but John, his works just fine on their cars. And we've been going back and forth, and we finally decided to hardwire it. So we had to look through some wiring diagrams and figure out which 2 wires to tap into for the CAN bus signal for the high and low. And we figured that out just looking at some wiring diagrams. And we're about to test it now. Power. Key on. Lund Racing for the win. Oh, we've actually got some signals. Look, so these signals, check engine light, obviously not going to use TOT, manual car, IAT is showing, so we're actually getting some signals, and obviously they're not working because the car's not on right now, but actually getting some signals, which means we figured it out. John Lund Jr. for the win. So I'm going to clean up some of the wiring, get this all back together, see if we can get the dash mounted, and then finally show you guys what it looks like when it's actually running. Alright guys, so I still gotta mount it, but I wanted to start the car for you. Make sure the N-Gage works. A shift light for me, so now I can just watch that, but probably gonna mount it against the carbon dash like that. So for now, let's just sit there for a second. But what's cool is check engine light works, all that stuff works, so pretty freaking awesome. Boom, look at that. This is so sick. Man, I've been waiting for this for such a long time. It looks so cool. Alright, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. I've got the car back jacked up because I got to go over some stuff because we are racing at Street Car Takeover this upcoming weekend, Tulsa, Oklahoma. So just got to go over the car, do some maintenance on it. But really excited that we got the dash in. It looks freaking killer. So I'm super excited about this because we had the stock gauges just kind of looking not so good there, but now we've got this AEM dash, got all the signals I need on there, all the PIDs, and then we got the N-Gage over here doing the logging. So like I said, just got to do some maintenance on the car before this upcoming weekend, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Typically I do the street racer class there. It's just quarter-mile heads up. So the air probably won't be the best, but I can finally see what the car is going to trap and see what the car can do through the quarter-mile, because I haven't ran quarter-mile with the new transmission and with all the boost issues fixed. So I'm going to go over the car really good this week, make sure everything's good to go, and we're finally get some quarter-mile hits. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. If you guys want, you can purchase that AEM CD7 dash. And if you're tuned by Lund Racing, you can get with them on how much it is to make a configuration for that dash. But honestly, it's pretty simple if the plug-and-play harness works. My plug-and-play harness from AEM didn't work, so I did have to hardwire it to the OBD2, which is honestly super easy. It's just 2 wires, and then you hook up a power wire and a ground wire, and then you just have to make a configuration. That way you can log through the N-Gage while the AEM is on, so they don't
mess each other up. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.